What's up, fellow melons? Today we need to talk about something sinister lurking in the shadows of society. Something that has infiltrated many households across the globe. Something that has indoctrinated this entire generation of toddlers into being sleeper agents, turning their brains inside out to the point where they will only function when they hear this oh so familiar tune. Yes, today we're talking about Cocomelon, and we're not just gonna leave it at Cocomelon bad. We're gonna go a little bit deeper. We're going to dive deep into the growing phenomenon that is Cocomelon zombification. Basically how Cocomelon is affecting kids and sending them into a weird trance-like state and causing them to throw tantrums.
I'm so fucking angry!
Today we're gonna look at how this merciless melon beat all other competent kids shows into submission and somehow became one of the most subscribed to YouTube channels of all time. But first, before we get into that, I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, the one and the only Raid Shadow Legends. If you haven't heard of Raid Shadow Legends until now, I'd be surprised, but let me fill you in. Raid Shadow Legends is a free-to-play RPG mobile and PC game with over 600 champions and tons of content. And by far the superior faction of champions is the Lizard Tribe. Because I am an avid supporter of Dr. Connors, reject modernity. Lizards are eternal. That is, these guys are my favorite until they end up adding Peter Griffin or something, because they're just creating so many champions at this point. Over 600 champions, and they're still going. If Raid Shadow Legends sounds interesting to you, use my links below to download Raid yourself for mobile or PC. Something super cool they added recently is a new Hydra clan boss. And since Hydras have multiple heads, they put a spin on things and made it so that each head evokes a new playstyle in combat. My personal favorites are the head of Mischief and the head of Suffering. The head of Mischief is the embodiment of chaos. If you have a buffed up champion, it'll take all the champion buffs and use it for itself. It'll also send some of the attacks you direct at it to the other Hydra heads. So good luck trying to touch it. And then when you bring the head of Suffering into it, things just ramp up. When you damage this thing, it sometimes decides to share that massive damage you did to it back with you, because sharing is caring. Oh, and if the new boss isn't enough for you, there's more. Raid Shadow Legends is also giving away a limited edition champion esports legend Simple to every player in the game. You can get him just by logging into the game for 7 days between now and January 28th. If you miss that date though, bye bye, he's gone. They're also releasing more champions and a new Faction Wars crypt this month. There's never been a better time to get started with this game. So click the links down in the description below, and if you're a new player, you're gonna get 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, 1 ancient shard, and a free champion, Vergis. And all of these rewards can be found right up here. So why not start and download Raid today? Thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the main content. Let's get back to talking about Cocomelon's absurd popularity. You gotta think, if this is one of the most subscribed to YouTube channels, surely they're doing something groundbreaking. They must really have some high quality stuff for kids to watch. No, I assure you that is not the case.
Bro, please, bro. Why are you
The quality in Cocomelon is just not there. It packed its bags and left. The animation is soulless. It's so bad that it's been memed to hell, and now saying something looks like Cocomelon is regarded as one of the biggest insults you could give to animation. Like when Dream's Mask video came out, that's what a lot of people were comparing it to. It's something absolutely no one wants their work to look like. So if I was in a totally believable life or death situation where someone had a gun to my head and said to me, listen, if you want to live, you're gonna have to recommend this show. You're gonna have to tell people Cocomelon is the greatest thing of all time. Bow before Coco.
I would rather die.
I would recommend literally anything else before Cocomelon. Now you could argue, well, Savannah, this show is just for toddlers. They don't have high standards. So what does it matter if it looks like garbage? It matters because the garbage is winning. It is beating out the other shows that actually put effort in. The other shows for the same age range that have actual love and care put into them do not stand a chance against Cocomelon's empire. But not only that, it seems a lot of people are really questioning the effects of chronic Cocomelon viewing on their kids' behavior. This isn't a funny post. My 2-year-old daughter had become addicted to Cocomelon, and at first I didn't think much of it. She would ask for Coco constantly and stayed glued to the TV. Initially, I allowed this because I had a baby and having an infant attached to my body made interacting with my toddler nearly impossible. Of course, everything else that comes with a new baby is also a factor. I would estimate that we watched Cocomelon for at least 3 hours a day. The TV was not on all day. I mean, okay, Cocomelon is bad, but if you place your kid in front of Cocomelon for 3 hours, that is beyond bad. That is a death sentence. You are sentencing your child to death. After a couple months, I recognized she was becoming increasingly agitated when Coco was not on. She would throw tantrums that would sometimes involve hitting her head with her fist. At this point, I reduced Coco time to only a few minutes before breakfast. My baby is 5 months old now, and about a month ago, I decided it was time to cut off Coco. It's been a whole month of zero Cocomelon in this house, and her head-hitting tantrums have stopped, but she still asks for Coco all the time. When I need to do something quick, I'll put on Hey Bear occasionally for my 9-month-old. I decided to switch it up and tried Cocomelon. I feel like my son's soul left his body and is now owned by Cocomelon. The man zoned out instantly like in a trance, and I turned that shit off so quick. What is it about Cocomelon that kids are obsessed with? Has anyone else banned this show in their house? I recently did, and holy crap, I wish I banned it sooner. Whenever it was on, my daughter would hyper-focus on it, and when we turned it off, she would be in a grouchy mood all day after. So I told my husband and parents no more Cocomelon. I'm so glad I did. We're on day 4 of no Cocomelon and very limited TV, and my daughter's been much more cheerful and able to entertain herself again. What's up with Cocomelon? Literally no show or movie puts my son into a deep trance the way Cocomelon does. The second it's on the TV, he turns into a toddler zombie who doesn't see or hear anything else that's going on in the room. It freaks me out, so we don't have it on very often. Is this show bewitching all toddlers in America, or just mine? All kids, it is corrupting every single child. So now you gotta wonder, what's going on here? This has been a meme for a while where iPad kids will look like they have absolutely no thoughts in their eyes the second that jingle comes on. It looked ridiculous, but now things are just getting weirder with parents raising concerns that their kids seem to not enjoy other things as much once they see Cocomelon, to the point where they throw tantrums when it isn't on or feel as if they can't go without it. So now the question is, why is this show specifically creating this issue? And well, sit back and relax because there is an answer. Anything I say from this point on in the video is speculation, as I'm not a scientist and I cannot legally say Cocomelon is bad or scientifically engineered to be bad, but I can speculate on why it could be hypothetically taking over kids' brains. You know, hypothetically. Legally, not saying it's true, just hypothetically. Cocomelon, please don't smite me. Now let's get some analyst music going on. We gotta change the tone here. The first thing most people notice is the overwhelming pacing of Cocomelon. In any Cocomelon animation, it seems the shots go by incredibly fast and there's too much happening too quickly that it becomes overstimulating or ends up gluing your eyes to the screen, putting you in a trance-like state. There's a principle in filmmaking that the length of shots goes hand in hand with the action on screen. In fast-paced action scenes, there's a lot of quick cuts and shots less than 2 seconds long. In slower talking scenes, or any scene that doesn't involve a lot of action, there are often fewer shots, and each shot is a decent length. With this in mind, I found it interesting because I found myself being less overwhelmed by fight scenes than I was from watching Cocomelon. Because I had to watch Cocomelon videos to make this video, and as I was watching them, it got me thinking, like, why am I so overwhelmed? So I decided to grab 3 clips from Cocomelon and 9 clips from other shows to count how many shots were in each scene and time how long each shot lasted, to see if I could get any interesting data about Cocomelon. And oh my god, what I found was actually worse than I expected. I mean, I expected it to be pretty bad, but my expectations were low, but what I got was worse. I took 3 clips from Netflix's show Arcane, 3 clips from Encanto, and 3 clips from Bluey, to compare to 3 Cocomelon clips. And the reason I got these sources was because of the varying maturity level and type of media they were. Encanto and Arcane are pretty popular right now, but I feel most viewers won't know what Bluey is, so let me just brief you on that. Bluey is a 2D animated show for younger kids on Disney Junior, so it's basically a direct competitor to Cocomelon. Arcane is for mature audiences, and Encanto is pretty much for everyone, so we have a lot of diversity going on here. So you have pretty much all age ranges there, completely different types of media. And I ranked all scenes from 1 to 12 in the following categories based on shots in the scenes. Percentage of shots over 5 seconds, percentage of shots 2 seconds and under, and the average amount of shots per minute, which is the most important category in my opinion. So let's start this off. Starting with percentage of shots over 5 seconds, we have a Bluey clip in position number 1, with 38.7% of its shots lasting over 5 seconds. Second place is We Don't Talk About Bruno, with 35% of its shots lasting over 5 seconds. And third place is another Bluey clip. I think it's important to say here that I really like the spot Bluey is in. Since it's the other show for toddlers, it's a direct competitor to Cocomelon. The other pieces of media are in here just for general animation comparisons, but Bluey is the most important because it's for the same demographic and it's slow-paced. And I think that's how shows should be for developing brains. They shouldn't be too overwhelming. But then, all the way in position number 9, entering the bottom 4, is when Cocomelon first shows up with only 4.7% of shots in that scene being over 5 seconds long. That means all Cocomelon clips are beat out by all of Bluey, all of Encanto, and the majority of Arcane. AKA, Cocomelon is terrified of long shots. It is agony for them to create a shot longer than 5 seconds. And I mean, 5 seconds isn't even considered a long shot when you look at film. It's really not. It's a mid-length shot. It's completely mid. So I actually set my standards pretty low for Cocomelon, but they still couldn't surpass it. When looking through my data, the longest shot on a Cocomelon video was 6 seconds. The longest shot on Arcane was 8 seconds. The longest shot on Bluey was 27 seconds. And the longest shot on Encanto was 18 seconds in We Don't Talk About Bruno. So Cocomelon also has the shortest long shot out of any of the clips in comparison. So let's go over to the other list. Percentage of shots that are extremely short, lasting 2 seconds or less. In the bottom 3 we have 2 Bluey clips and We Don't Talk About Bruno. At spot number 9, that's when we first see the percentage of shots that are short tip into the majority at 61.3%. Right above that are 2 Cocomelon positions. So that might look slightly promising because they're not that high up on the list. I mean, sure, compared to the other toddler show, they're not doing that great right now, but they're not that high on the list yet. But this list is gonna get worse because we have yet to talk about Baby Shark. Baby Shark's stats are a menace to society. Oh my god. If civilization falls in the next 50 years, it is because of this thing. Let's go to the top 3. All the way up to third place, we have the Encanto song Surface Pressure, with a whopping 70.4% of its shots being super short. And it makes sense because this song is about mounting pressure. And of course, there's going to be a lot of action and quickness in it to match the mood. Position number 2 is a literal fight scene in Arcane with tons of extremely quick shots to capture the action. 77.8% of this scene's clips are short. But Baby Shark still beat out a literal fight scene. That's right, Baby Shark had more fast-paced shots than a literal fight scene where people are trying to kill each other. Baby Shark takes number 1 spot with a whopping 95.9% of its shots being 2 seconds or under. There is not a second for toddler brains to process anything and just relax. So now when we look at the overall ranking for the average amount of shots per minute, which was taken by the amount of shots in the sequence divided by the amount of minutes in it, you get this list. It says a lot. Cocomelon, a show for toddlers, has all of its spots in the top 6 for fast pacing, with Baby Shark again beating out a literal fight scene, and a lot of other fast-paced scenes as well. Encanto is all over the place, Arcane is leaning towards fast pacing, but what I find most interesting is that Bluey, the show for the same audience as Cocomelon, is at the bottom, which I think it should be. I think any show for toddlers should not be nearly as overstimulating as Cocomelon with its pacing. It should be leaning more towards Bluey. I just really think that when you're in your developing years, you shouldn't be taking in something that's incredibly mind-numbing and overstimulating. But when it comes to overstimulation, we've only talked about the shot pacing. Let's get into the other important stuff, like the way the camera moves. In most movies, the camera isn't always moving. There's usually a mix of static and moving shots, but Cocomelon doesn't have this movement diversity. The vast majority of shots in Cocomelon are moving, and not just moving a little bit, we're talking big movements. If you take the top 3 in this list again, Baby Shark has more movement than any of these other scenes, except for the other Cocomelon media. And there's also one final part to Cocomelon animation that I want to talk about because I think it's an important factor for stealing kids' attention and never letting go. The saturation and brightness of Cocomelon. I mean, these colors are hard to look at. This is really bright and in your face. So what I did was I took all the comparison clips again and decided to see how they generally looked as a whole with their color palette to see which piece of media overall was brightest. I did this by taking a few pretty important frames from each clip, mashing them together in a photo, and then using Photoshop's crystallize filter to get some clear color palettes from them. And what I find we get out of this is that Cocomelon again has the more overstimulating option. Its saturation and brightness is much higher than the other ones, and it's a lot for the eyes to look at. The only other sequence that can be compared with Cocomelon would be surface pressure, but surface pressure is extremely understandable because, again, it's a song about mounting pressure and anxiety, and with film, you generally want the composition to match the mood you're trying to get the audience to feel, so it makes sense for a song about anxiety to be overstimulating. It does not make sense for Wheels on the Bus, Go Round and Round, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or Baby Shark to be like this. So now let's restate the question. How is this affecting toddlers? Well, based on a lot of stories from parents, they go into a trance-like state when Cocomelon is on and throw temper tantrums when it's not. Basically, Cocomelon overstimulates their brains so much that everything else just seems slow and boring in comparison. It's captivating kids not by the story it tells, but by how its shots are engineered. And when it's not shown in moderation, it's affecting their attention span. So the conclusion to get from this video is not only does Cocomelon animation look like absolute trash, it's also zombifying kids. It's really a problem that it has the top spot in popularity for younger audience cartoons, because it does not have the best animation. Again, the word Cocomelon has become synonymous with bad animation. The story in the content is non-existent, the characters are bad. It really has nothing going on that other shows can't beat. All it did was break down show tactics to a science and make something kids couldn't break free from. The year is 2150. The CIA has been pressured to release the Melon Docs. They come clean and admit that Cocomelon was a mind control experiment to indoctrinate kids into remorseless sleeper agents ready to eliminate any target when given the chance. They turned into Coco felons and are ready to commit a Coco felony. But yeah, the situation is looking grim. I hope something worthy can surpass Cocomelon, but things are looking bleak. But tell me in the comments, what are your thoughts on all this? Is it ethical? Can Cocomelon ever be dethroned? If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like or subscribing, or let me know what other stuff you want to see from me. I also have social media and merch links in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, every night is like a daze, but oh, I feel embraced, yes, I know I'm running late. Let's wait just one more day. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken.